Yes, Kenya. Tamu sana, tamu sana, tamu sana, yes. Chief Justice Martha Koome is once again under siege from Senior Counsel Ahmednassir Abdullahi. For some times now, Abdullahi has been talking of jurisprudence, in that you can't get justice in our courts unless you part with some money, and more so at the Supreme Court of Kenya. Let's have a look at some posts shared out by Senior Counsel, for they are going to inform the basis of our analysis right now. Ahmednassir Abdullahi Senior Counsel: jurisprudence does wonders to the scale of justice, especially in the Supreme Court of Kenya. And then you are seeing some images there. An image resembling Martha Koome and another one of the dollar. And to interpret this image, if the Chief Justice Martha Koome was given a chance to choose between justice and money, she would choose money, the dollars. That the jurisprudence Senior Counsel Ahmednassir Abdullahi has been talking about. And then Senior Counsel also shared out this: jurisprudence is usually in dollars. And remember the 4 judges of the Supreme Court of Kenya that were paid $2 million per judge in September 2022. That's when Raila Odinga challenged Chebukati's declaration that 4 judges of the Supreme Court of Kenya were each paid $2 million US. That's over 250 million Kenya shillings. 4 judges, each was paid over 250 million Kenya shillings. This is not the first time Senior Counsel is talking about this. In fact, he has been very consistent on this bribe that happened in 2022. I want us to put all this into perspective for Kenyans to understand the high-octane political games being played behind the scenes. If you are watching us but you have not yet subscribed, subscribe, give the video a like. Let's proceed. Yes. Not once, not twice, but on several occasions, I've always maintained in this forum that the weakest link in our judiciary is the Supreme Court. The lower courts are coming out as a little bit more independent than the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is coming out as an extension of the executive. That's something I keep on saying in this forum. In 2022, when Raila Odinga challenged Chebukati's declaration, all the 7 justices of the Supreme Court made a unanimous ruling. And that ruling in itself raised some serious questions. How could the 7 justices all come up with one ruling in a matter that was so divisive as we did see in 2022? In a matter that 4 out of 7 IBC commissioners had declared that there were some irregularities. Even with all that, the Supreme Court came with a unanimous decision, and that raised some questions. The language of the ruling in 2022 was not a judicial kind of a language. It appears the Supreme Court judges were just playing some politics that turned out as mouthpieces for politicians. I don't imagine or even think that the apex court in the land could issue words such as hot air, wild goose chase. Those were not judicial wordings, but wordings from politicians. And I've always maintained here that the best thing, therefore, was for the Supreme Court judges to resign because Kenyans no longer had trust in them. That's something I've been saying here. As we've been saying that, William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza supporters have been pressing the Supreme Court. And they have been pressing the Supreme Court as from 2022, when the Supreme Court did affirm William Ruto's election as Kenya's president. Kenya Kwanza supporters have been pressing the Supreme Court. If you look at the people now complaining mostly about the Supreme Court, these are the people who voted for William Ruto and his team. Senior counsel has been a staunch Ruto supporter and is on record saying he has never voted for Raila Amolo Odinga. And when he talks about corruption at the Supreme Court, as much as we all know there is corruption at the Supreme Court, Senior Counsel Ahmednassir Abdullahi is not honest. If you talk about corruption, is Senior Counsel Ahmednassir Abdullahi any better than Martha Koome? Is he in any way better? Is he better than the remaining justices of the Supreme Court? The answer is a very big no. Senior counsel, in the eyes of some good number of Kenyans, they see him as equally corrupt, just as Martha Koome and the Supreme Court judges he is talking about. And maybe he's trying to expose these judges because he had tried bribing them, but the judges refused. So that's why maybe senior counsel is exposing these Supreme Court judges. But that does not mean that these judges were not bribed to alter the will of the people in 2022. That's something I keep on saying here. Chances are very high that these judges were seriously compromised. And that's why they came with the ruling they came with in 2022. And if you look at this post coming from senior counsel, we know that senior counsel has been a close Ruto ally. So he might be speaking something he knows can please William Ruto, or he might just be voicing out his own personal opinion. But in the event he's speaking something that he knows will make Ruto happy, then that can also give us an insight as to the games being played here. William Ruto is in the process of kicking out these Supreme Court justices in order for him to bring his surrogates, those who will be more of his allies than these current judges of the Supreme Court. So there is an elaborate scheme to replace the Supreme Court justices with those who will be more loyal to William Samoei Ruto. And I'm saying that assuming that senior counsel is speaking on behalf of Ruto now that he has been a staunch Ruto supporter. He's a very close Ruto ally. And why William Ruto has never given him a job in his government, that's something also we can't understand. But it's somehow very certain he might be speaking this to please Ruto. And if this is his own personal opinion, then it also just proves that senior counsel Ahmednassir Abdullahi has a bone to pick with some justices of the Supreme Court. But above all, even before I conclude, Kenyans lost trust in the Supreme Court judges long time ago. The best thing for these judges to do is for them to resign. This is a public office. It's not a personal office or a private office. You only serve in these offices with the confidence of the public. But it's very clear the public lost its confidence on these Supreme Court judges. So they're just serving their own personal interests. They are not serving the interest of the people. That's what should happen, ladies and gentlemen. Let me stop it there. If you are watching us but you have not yet subscribed, subscribe, give the video a like. Any person watching us outside Kenya for the first time, drop a comment, let us know from which part of the globe you are watching us from. If possible, subscribe, give the video a like. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Kenya.